Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about discouraged distractions. I know you're probably thinking, what is making her want to do a video about discouraged distractions? So, for me to just be completely transparent, I have been struggling throughout like the past year or so with like just distractions. And I've been staying focused, and for the most part, because God's in my life, it's been really helping me because instead of me being like, oh no, God, don't help me at this point, I've been really doing a lot better at saying, hey, God, I need you right now. And God has been there for me every step of the way. Without God, I don't know how I would have made it through any parts of my life. Like, I was going to say the past year or two when I rededicated my life to Him, but He's been looking out for me even before then, even from the time I was born until before I was born until this very day, and so on. Like, however long it is that He allows me to breathe my breath on this earth, He has been and will always be there for me. And so I just, I will get to a point in my life, and I'm just saying this to be real. I'm not saying it because I want to discourage people or make people like look down on me or judge me. And it's okay if you do, as long as I get to help somebody. And so I just have been really struggling from time to time with just letting things go. And I know God has better for me. And sometimes it's still difficult, even though I know there's better around the corner. There will be people, places, or things that I'll be like, oh, I really want this person. I really want this thing, or whatever it is. And I'll really be holding on to it tight. Like, I don't want to let it go. And God's like, you have to let it go in order for me to give you more. I can't give you more if you're holding on to something from the past. If you are allowing this distraction to deter you from your destiny, you will never be able to receive all the blessings that I have for you. And I know it's true. And it's like the adversary will play with my emotions, or he'll try to make me think about the past or something else, and he'll just be like, oh, you remember when you did that one thing wrong, or you remember this thing, or you remember the relationships that you used to be in. So why would you think that you could ever be with someone who's a good person, or why would you ever think that God would have anything better for you? It's just you. Like, those are the type of things that like run through my head every like 30 days or so. And it's like so random. I'll be like having good days, and I'll be so strong in faith, and I'm usually pretty strong in my faith. And I'll either have a dream. It'll either come to me in a dream, and the dream will distract me, or it'll be a person or a place or a thing, and then it'll make me feel like something's wrong with me, or like I'm not good enough for something. And I know I'm good enough. I'm worthy because God created me. So it's not that I feel like I'm not good enough for those things. It's just in my head. Like, it doesn't live outside of my head in that moment or that hour or whatever it is, that it just keeps recycling until eventually I get a hold of it, or I call on God and I rebuke it from my mind, to so it allows me to just remember how confident I am and how much I love myself, and how God created me worthy, and how I'm the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. And no weapon formed against me could ever prosper, because God's already won the fight. But it's a fixed fight, and God already won because he's the creator of everything. He can't be tempted by anything because he created it. Nothing could deter God from being the God that he is. Nothing could deter him from loving us, no matter what it is that we do. And he's so amazing that no matter what mistakes we make, he can use it for the benefit of the kingdom. He can allow it to be our testimony. He can allow it to be a message that can be used to help someone else. And I know that's a testimony, but I'm just elaborating. And so it's just so amazing how God works things out in our favor. And I really wanted to really be transparent and let you know that I do struggle just like other people. I struggle with certain things, and it's not always super, it's not always something that's dramatic or something like that. Sometimes it's just something that's just like in my head. It'll be like cynicism or a negative thought, or like I could meet someone that I like and they might not like me, or they might, you know, I might have a conversation with them or something, and we would be like conversing, and out of nowhere they'll either ghost me or something like that. This has happened one time, but the one time that it happened has like really been like triggering. It's kind of like all of those horrible relationships, and then this person, it's like the adversary's using it like, oh, see, you're not good enough, instead of, and I'm not saying it like this is how I truly feel. This is the thoughts that jump into my head that the adversary tries to use to make me get distracted from the destiny, from my purpose, from the things that God placed on my heart for me to do. He tries to make these person, place, or things come in to make it seem like, oh yeah, see, God never loved you. God would never do this. God would never do that. But God always is honest with me. He never lies to me. There's nothing that I've been through or that I'm going through that God hasn't seen me through. Nothing at all. And no matter what the adversary says, even if he tells you you're not good enough, even if he says there's no such thing as good relationships, and I know people hear this all the time, which is why I'm saying it. And it's so weird because he could use people like friends, family members, whatever else, and they don't even mean any ill will about it. They could just say a blanket statement. And them saying it can make you feel a certain type of way and then allow the adversary an avenue, a foothold to be able to come in and manipulate your mind. That's where he lives because he's not omnipresent like God. He only can enter in places where you allow a little space for him to get in. He only can live in those places where you have that insecurity. And it's so funny because I was reading the Bible today and it talked about fear. And it's so funny because when I first went through, the breakup and everything, and I'm only bringing up the breakup just to tell this story so that it can make sense and hopefully it'll help someone, not because I want to keep talking about it. But apparently it's like a major pivotal point in my life for some reason. But okay. So even when I was going through the breakup, after, we weren't together, I was at the house and I would be doing stuff with the yard and things like that. And I was so afraid of this one thing. And it's so weird because when I rededicated my life to God, it's like I wasn't even the thing that used to scare me all those years. It was like I wasn't afraid anymore. It was like, if I can go through this, I mean, what is that? I was like, bring it. Because after this, I can handle anything, you know? And so it's when I read the Bible today, that's what it made me think of is how it kind of just me rededicating my life to God and focusing on God really made me feel like fear didn't exist. Do I get concerned sometimes? Yes. And every once in a while, like when the adversary's playing with like my emotions or my mental state or emotionally, like I'm in spiritual warfare or something like that, then he will try to use something from the past to make me feel a certain type of way. Like I love myself now. Now I feel like I'm worthy. Now I know what I deserve and what I deserve whatever it is that God has for me. Like I don't want to settle for anything less than that. I don't want to just be with some person because they're interested in me. I don't want to just be with some person because, their favorite color is the same as mine or whatever else it is. Like I really want someone who is going to we are going to benefit the kingdom. I really want it to be someone who's equally yoked, who has really good core values, is a decent human being, not just someone who pretends to be a good person but really is not a nice person or a good person, you know. And so as I read this Bible verse, I'm gonna read it real quick and then I'm not gonna try to I could read the whole thing because the whole thing preaches like for real. But I'm just gonna read this part. And so so I was reading First John chapter 4 today. And as I'm reading through the chapter, I get to this part on verse, I think it's 18. It says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. And I was like, it really smacked me in the face. I know that's like a weird like thing to say, but it really did because I had been so afraid to be vulnerable with the right person. I had been so boxed off and guarded and like ready to push people away because I was afraid of getting hurt, because I was afraid of, getting my heart broken again. But that's inevitable when you allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's heartbreak. And it doesn't mean that the person's leaving. It's just because you're emotionally open, you know? And so I have been thinking about how afraid I was or scared to let the right people in, or how afraid I was for just being in that stage of my life, like where I feel I have been making excuses and everything, like, oh, I'm not ready yet. Oh, I'm still healing. And yes, I could still be healing, but I would just like randomly push people away, or just I would see someone coming to talk to me and I would just like do random stuff to just get away from the person, or someone would come up to me and I would say something weird just so that they don't like ask me out, or like I was doing weird stuff just because I was super afraid of allowing someone in, because I was just thinking of getting hurt again. And it's so funny because when I read this verse, it's just like there's no fear in love. How can I be willing to have that type of love, or be willing to be the type of love that God wants me to be? Or, you know, God is love. Why would I be afraid of something that God is? And if I'm using discernment of the spirit and the person, and I allow God to choose the person, to allow me to see the things that He wants me to see so that I can be vulnerable with the right person, then what am I afraid of? You know? And so it really made me think like that when I read that verse. It was just like, I'm afraid of things, but God is in control of everything. So why am I afraid of this animal, or you know, this height, or whatever it is? Whatever is going to happen regardless. It's I'm not in control of my life. God is. I can control the things that I can control, but that's it. The outcome is up to God. If God really wants me to be somewhere, He's going to open opportunities for me. Even if I have all the credentials and God doesn't want me to be somewhere, and He knows that it's not going to benefit my life, He can close that door, and I would be eternally thankful for it. It could be a person. It could be the most perfect person that I've ever met in my life. And I don't mean, and when I say perfect, I say that just as a regular, like, I don't mean perfect like to perfection, like it's like the person is God. Like, I mean like close to perfect, or they meet all the criteria, or whatever you want to call it. But it could be a person who just seems perfect. They got the perfect personality, with the perfect body, with the perfect, you know, whatever, perfect work ethic. They just got it all going. They got it going on. And God could be like, that's not the person. It doesn't make any sense. They got it all going on. You have a lot in common. You both want the same things in life. You're equally yoked. You both love God. And God's like, no, this ain't it. I know that's improper English, but still, he's like, this ain't it. And so he just, it doesn't matter what you think or how you think something is going to work out. It's up to God to decide how things are going to work out. And my main thing is I got so beside myself in one instance that I just really felt like, oh my gosh, you know, if this isn't happening, then what's the point of having hope? And God is saying you can't have hope in a person. You have to have hope in me. Hope is the faith of things that are unseen. You can't expect to see an example of the thing that you want your relationship to be like, or you want your life to be like, because the life I have for you is not going to look like everybody else's. You might be able to talk to people about you being through a similar situation, but the journey that I take them on is going to be different. And I know that. And it's so funny. I was listening to this sermon earlier, and it was called Waiting on God. And it really made me look at myself for real. Like, really look at the things that I have been doing in the past, or the things that I've been hoping for that aren't me, that aren't for me. And as the preacher preached, she starts talking about how we sometimes allow a distraction to get us off track. It allows us not to be focused anymore. Instead of us being focused on God, like she was just saying, how Satan can come in and he will really try to distract you from your purpose. He will do whatever it takes, like the distraction will be so good that it'll keep you preoccupied long enough so that you will forget the promise that God put on your life for your purpose. He will do just enough to make you forget God's promise, to make you forget all the things that God promised you. And it's so true because the distractions that I had the past year have been so crazy. I really allowed it to stagnate my faith. I allowed it to, and it's not that my faith went away, it just got a little low. And I was really ashamed to say it in the one video, and it's still shameful. I just really felt like I knew, like, hey, this is really me. Like, this is really what I want. But I didn't check and see if that's what God wanted. And when God didn't give me an answer, I went for it anyways. And never, ever, 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 never, ever go for something that God didn't bless or that God didn't tell you a yes on. And if God is telling you to wait for something, you need to wait because you don't know what He's doing in that person or another person. It's so funny because I was watching this video and this young lady, she's in like this she's in this Christian relationship, and she did it. At first I was thinking, well, she did everything the right way. I mean, like, and I was like beating myself up about it. I'm like, she's younger than me, and she's staying faithful and she's listening to God and she's being patient when God is telling her to be patient. And she said, no, it was really hard for her to stay faithful, to do the right thing. She it wasn't time for her to be with that guy that she's with now. And God said that she needed to wait. He didn't tell her how long she was going to wait, but he did tell her that he was the guy. And at first they were talking a lot, and then she was like, well, my mom and other people had told her, don't talk to him like that if you guys aren't ready to be in a relationship, because it's going to be really tempting and hard. You have to be intentional if that's what you're going to do. If God is blessed that if this is where you're going, you need to make sure that you're doing it in God's timing and not yours. And she said, I was healing and I really wasn't ready. And I just didn't want to let go, even though I knew it wasn't time yet. And I was like, that's exactly what I did. I did the exact same thing. And people try to make it seem like it's so easy, like, oh yeah, God said so let it go. You just let it go. For the most part, it is that easy because I have faith. And sometimes it's difficult. And God will say, like, wait 3 or 4 months, wait however long. And I really did need that time to heal because I didn't realize that I was still hurting. I didn't realize that I was controlling. I didn't realize that I had other things that I had to work on. And I just, I rushed and I did all the wrong things. We both did all the wrong things. And it ended up being disastrous. Like, it was horrible. I wouldn't say the person was horrible or I was a horrible person. It's just, I said all the wrong things. I did all the wrong things at the wrong time and not stuff like that. But just in general, I really, like, if I would have listened to God and I would have waited, things probably would have been a lot differently. But because I felt like I couldn't wait, because I felt like, oh, well, it's, right here, what's going to happen after this? And then I just started feeling like, well, maybe God didn't mean for me to have this. Maybe God didn't want this for me because this is my real punishment. Maybe God is saying, you can't be with this person because of you, you know? And God is not just trying to make you not have something that you want or you desire or that He has for you. He's telling you to wait because you have to heal. He's telling you to wait because maybe you are controlling or you picked up some kind of toxic personality trait from a previous relationship. Maybe you're ready, but you have to do some things in your purpose first. Maybe God's working on the other person and maybe you're good in a good place right now. But while you being able to release that person will allow you to not idolize that person And it'll give that person time to heal as well, like to really heal, not just pretend like they're healing. Maybe it'll give you a chance to really see that, hey, things don't happen on your time, it happens on God's time. And sometimes we get so beside ourselves, we really feel like we need to just jump ahead of God and just do things. And I'm telling you right now, if you do it your own way, if you jump ahead of God, it's not going to work out the way you think it is. You might even end up losing the person because you decided to just rush into things. I'm only saying that because I really want to help somebody that's in my situation that's finding it really difficult to let go. Or you feel like, well, God told me yes for this, so why would I wait? It doesn't make any sense to wait. And it does make sense to wait because in the waiting season there's a lot of stuff happening. There's things that God's allowing to happen on the inside of you spiritually, physically, emotionally. There's a lot of stuff a lot of people that God will allow you to meet and that will become a part of your life. Those people that you might need to build a strong spiritual support system. There will be people around that person who maybe once you have worked on yourself, maybe once God has gotten rid of those toxic traits or negative personality traits or whatever else it is that is still a part of you, maybe then you could become the person who will be patient enough for that person who God has. Maybe then you'll be the type of person who won't be demanding things or seem controlling. Maybe then you'll actually be in the right headspace to where you can actually be vulnerable. When someone's trying to invite you places, you'll actually go instead of trying to push them away. Maybe you won't make up times and rules and things because you know that it'll push the person away because you're too afraid that the person's going to hurt you and they haven't done anything yet. And that means that you still have to heal. If you are pushing people away, if you are the type of person who just can't seem to be vulnerable. And when I say vulnerable, I don't mean that you don't guard your heart. I mean, you allow the right person an opportunity to show you who they are. I paused right there because I really want people to think about that. The right person to show you who they are. Even some other people. You really have to be patient and take your time to learn people. You can't just be like, oh, God said this is the one. I'm going to totally be vulnerable. God might not need you to be vulnerable like that, like open for attack like that. He might need you to be open to learning the person, to be a little vulnerable, to allow them to see the type of person that you are and learn some things about you. But maybe it's not time for you to just act like the person already won and they haven't done anything yet. Because the thing about knowing is that sometimes it makes you not allow the person to put in the work that's necessary, you know? And then if they know, like, definitely don't tell them if you know. If you know, don't tell them nothing. Like, because then they're going to really feel like they have to do the bare minimum and never do anything. They're not going to put it forth any effort. The things that are going to make you like fall in love with the person or the things that's going to make you actually get to know the person won't be there because you were ahead of God. Instead of you being able to take your time, like, for example, I have this friend. Let's say this friend met this guy and they met. She asked someone to ask him if he was coming to this thing. He comes, and because he comes, she's like talking to her friends or other people that are there, and she's like, "Yeah, he never asked for my number anyway." So, I mean, he's obviously not interested. And then the friend, trying to be a good friend and looking out for her friend, says, "Oh, you should ask for her number." Now, the whole situation's forced. Now have the guy has the upper hand because now you just look like thirsty and desperate because he did absolutely nothing to get to know you. He did absolutely nothing to put forth any effort. He hasn't done anything at all to show you that he's even interested in you in a little bit, in the slightest. When if you had waited on God 3 or 4 months, he probably would have came to the next thing that was there on his own, of his own cognizance. And then he might have asked for your number because he would have gotten to know you a little better in God's time. You would have felt more worthy and more appreciated and like he's actually interested in you instead of not being interested in you at all, and then second guessing yourself and then feeling insecure because you feel like you manipulated the whole situation and now, whatever. And then instead of doing this whole push pull thing, you might have actually been able to take your time to get to know the person, and then maybe you guys would have grown, you know, whatever, like grown to like each other, grown to whatever else, and things would have happened the way they were supposed to instead of you rushing ahead of God. It is never okay to rush ahead of God. When you do, like even the girl who was telling her story, it really messed up a lot of stuff. And instead of them, like, I truly believe, I don't know this to be true, but they had dated like 2.5 years. I know 2.5 years is not a long time, but I truly believe that if they would have waited on God instead of spending that 6 months to a year talking before God told them that it was time, like God said, yes, this is a person, but you need to wait. And she didn't wait. Then she ended up hurting his feelings because she said, I'm not interested in you. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother story. But she said she's not interested in him. I was like, why? You gotta read me right to left like that though. like I know I asked for a word, but goodness gracious, but God gotta tell it to me like that because I won't get it any other way. And so she's like, she tells him that she's not interested in him just to push him away because it was too hard to be around him and then not be able to be with him yet. And mm, 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 mm. I felt that in my soul when she said that. I was like, oh my gosh. Knowing that she liked the guy, knowing that she wanted him. But that's what happens when you rush ahead of God. You really make all of these really, I can't think of another word. Please forgive me for saying this, but that's what happens when you make these stupid decisions to rush ahead to God. It really just makes you second guess yourself. It really makes you have to like backtrack. You really got to back yourself out of the situation because you are too far ahead of where you should have been. Like for me, it deterred my focus because I was supposed to be focused on writing my book and doing other stuff, and I still focused, but it was hard to focus on some of the things that I had to do that came natural to me. And I needed that 3 to 4 months so that I could get my head straight, so that I could finish the book, so that I could do the things that God was telling me to do in that season of my life. And then if he really was interested, he would have probably tried to get to know me afterwards. Like I truly believe that what God has for you is for you and nobody else. It's not for anybody else. So it's not like I was ever going to miss out on anything because I waited, you know? But now that I rushed, now that I went ahead of God, I probably will never see that person. Okay, I probably see that person, but I'll probably never see that person in that type of way, like to actually be with that person ever, because that's what happens when you go ahead of God. And not only that, but when you go ahead of God, you're not only changing the trajectory of your life, you're manipulating their whatever's going on in their life as well. Like maybe God was working with them, and in the 3 to 4 months, God was going to get rid of some of the hurt or the pain that they had been through. Maybe God was going to allow them to rectify some situations, or to be able to mend like some of the pieces of their broken heart, or like some of the things that have been really hurting or deep down in them that have been really torturing them. And now, instead of it being 3 to 4 months, they have probably spent a whole 8, 9 months still battling with that same thing that God probably could have gotten rid of in 3 to 4 months. Like, you really don't know what you're doing when you step on God's toes, when you try to go ahead of Him, because you don't know what kind of miracles He's working in other people's lives when you do things like that, or in your life. Like, I really feel like if I had allowed myself that time to heal that I really needed, it would have allowed me to be a lot more confident in that area. It would have allowed me to be a lot more sure of myself. It would have allowed me to not feel like, oh, it's got to happen right now. I would have felt like it's going to happen when it happens, because that's what life is. It's not about you trying to control the situation and make it into something that you want. And if you're only thinking about what's going to benefit you, that you're not the best person for that person. You should be thinking about how it's going to affect that person, how that person feels, what that person wants, as well as what you want. If you're only thinking about yourself, then you're not good for the other person. You can't be in a one-sided relationship. And I wrote something else down on this paper. Oh, so I probably will post this on Valentine's Day if God allows me, unless He tells me to put something else on there, like one of the other videos in the order. And so, so now that we made it to Valentine's Day, settling season is over. Cuffing season is over. So this is the last day for you to settle for less than what you deserve, what God had appointed for you. You no longer, I mean, and it's a real thing. I don't feel like I settled for anything. I did like let a couple things slide that I shouldn't have let slide, but that was before the cuffing season. And so I really like, and since that moment, I have really been on it. Like, people have been gone so fast, it doesn't make any sense. I haven't even got a chance to like breathe in and like do a deep breath before the people have been released from my life. Like, that's how real it's gotten. And so, and I'm not saying that like in a bragging way, because I really truly feel like we don't have to have a quick cutoff game. But when you ask God for discernment of the spirit in a person, be ready, because people be gone so fast, especially the wrong people. It don't make no sense. Like, mm, it doesn't make any sense. But I'm very happy and thankful that God got rid of those people, because anybody that's not supposed to be there needs to be gone. Like, I don't need them to waste any time. And I don't want to say wasted, because I learned a lot of lessons in my past 15-year long relationship. I just really feel like time is of the essence, and I have too many things to do in my purpose. I have too many things to do for the kingdom to waste it on someone who's not being intentional, to waste it on someone who really doesn't care about truly care about my well-being. And so if they don't care about my well-being, and they don't believe that Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior, and God is everything to me, so of course I want God to be everything to them. I don't want to be with someone who's atheist or anything like that. I want to say no offense, but you know what I mean. And I just, I really truly just want what God wants for my life. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't want to settle for anything less than what God has for me. And it's pretty easy when you know what your purpose is. And now I get it. I totally get it, God. I totally get it. When you know what your purpose is. This is so funny. I've been hearing this for like 2 years and I just now got it. And I know people are going to be like, what? You should have already gotten that. Okay, we're not here to judge. But I totally get why they say when you know what your purpose is and you know what you do and don't want, it's really easy to decipher the right person from the wrong person. And it's so true. Most people get like a good 3 days and then that's it. And I know it sounds harsh. I know it sounds crazy, probably. Some people are like, oh, you should just give people a chance. I do give people a chance and they show me who they truly are. And like Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And so I don't need someone to try to convince me that there's something that they're not, to show me their representative or be fake or pretend like they're going to be something that I want them to be. I want them to be truly who they are. And I definitely don't want to be with someone who I feel like I have to make them into something that they're not. I want people to be themselves. And so if I know that that's just not me, that's not what I want in my life, then I'm not going to waste their time. I'm not going to waste my time or theirs. Like, I know what I want in life. I know the type of person I want. I know the type of person I don't want. I know what my core values are. I know what things I would intend to have in a person. And if the person that I'm talking to is somebody that I wouldn't want my son to be like, I don't have a son. I'm just saying future son. If the person that I'm talking to is not the type of person that I would want my future son to be like, I don't need to talk to him at all. Like I don't need to learn anything else. I don't need to know anything else. I know everything I need to know, you know? And people could say it's harsh. People could say I'm not giving people a real chance. I do give people a chance to show me who they truly are. And that's enough. I don't need to spend weeks and months with somebody that I know I'm not interested in just to waste their time or just to go get a meal or whatever. Like, I'm not about to waste people's coins like that. Like, they need to be spending that money on somebody who truly wants to be with them, you know? And so I just, I know it probably sounds ridiculous to so many people, but I just don't want to, I wouldn't want somebody to pretend like they're interested in me just to use me and then, you know, whatever. So I treat people the way I would want to be treated. And of course, I'm like nice about it and everything else. I don't just say, oh, I just say, I just don't think we're a good fit or we're not a good match or whatever else, or we're not, you know, whatever else it is. But I think you're a great person and, we'll see what happens in the future. I just leave it at that because I don't want to make it seem like, they're this, you never know who someone's going to grow into, first of all. So I don't want to make it seem like, and I didn't do this the first time with the person I actually like. So I learned a lesson there. And so now I know what I should be saying. But it really sucks when you get it wrong with a good person, you know. But it is what it is, and you live and learn. And so that's just, I'm gonna chalk that up to the lesson, not the loss, but the lesson pile. And so that's what happened there. So, I mean, I asked for discernment. I got it. I mean, I mean, and I know, I feel like I have to explain myself, and I'm only doing this because I don't want anybody to be like, oh, she just cut people off like it's nothing. Like, no, it's really not like that. It's really like they'll say they don't believe in God. That's an absolute no. Like, if I cursed, I would say a curse word there. No, you know, but that's like a no, 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 no. Like, that's just not gonna work. And then like if I'm like, and I'm not saying we're not gonna be two totally different people. Like they might like to go out and party and do stuff like that, and then be up in a club, smoking and all that other stuff. And I'm not judging people that smoke or anything like that. But if I'm like in church every Sunday and they're like, yeah, I don't believe in going to church. I believe in a spiritual, and I know that there's some sort of God, but I don't think that that's a God. Like, I don't believe in this God. And like, they go like that, and then they're like, and I believe that we should be able to do whatever we want to do, and they don't believe in discipline. So they don't have any discipline, and then they're into like weird stuff. Then I'm just like, and usually they say it in the first 3 days. So I'm like, thank you, Jesus. God, I'm so happy that you did not let me find this out in like a couple weeks or a month or 3 months or be in a relationship with this person. Like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Whew, I asked for discernment and you gave it to me. I'm so happy I got God in my life because these are the type of people that I probably would have dated and been with. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oof. God, being with God is like a totally different, it's a whole nother ballpark. It's a whole different, like, it's it's like day and night for real. Because, and I guess with like me knowing my purpose helps. So it's like I know my purpose is helping people. I know that I want to speak life into people. I can't have somebody speaking negatively to me or saying something rude. Like this one guy, he tried to say something like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you Ari, you do this, this, and this," and he was really trying to like go in on me. Like he asked for my number and tried to talk to me, and then he was like trying to play, like put me down, and I was just like, I know like some guys do it because they want you to like want them more because then you'll feel a little insecure and then you'll be like, "Oh, well, he's probably the only guy that's going to like me." But it really, for me personally, makes me feel like that person's insecure and they got some work to do. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, something's wrong with me. It makes me feel like you've been hurt and you need love, you know? And so and I'm not saying it because I'm like trying to judge people. I think there are some really great guys, and I have met some really nice guys and things like that. We just don't want the same things or whatever. So it's just different. Like, it's so funny. Like the way that God just be revealing these red flags and stuff is just amazing. Like I'm so thankful. It will be like a guy, he'll be a nice guy and stuff, and he'll seem like all cool, and then he'll be into something that's super weird, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll learn it on like day 1 or 2, and I'll be like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like, whew, if I gotta get on my hands and knees and be like praising God, I will do it because oh my gosh, I can only imagine the type of stuff that I would have had to go through if I was with that person, you know? And I'm not saying it because like I'm a perfect person. I got issues too. Like I'm flawed for real. I'm I'm like not perfect at all. Like you see me pushing people away, like that's not a good characteristic trait. You see how I said that I was like a little controlling in that one comment that I made like a year ago? I just I'm still a work in progress. I'm still working on me. I'm not perfect. And yeah, I probably do like I'll be looking for certain things. And I don't look for it like I'm trying to look for issues in people so I can get rid of them. I don't do that. So that's one good thing. But I do like I'll be like, okay, these are the things that really matter to me. And then when people start talking, you can kind of see what their core values are, like what they really want in life. And if their vision doesn't line up with my purpose, or my purpose doesn't line up with their vision, or whatever, vice versa, I know that's not the person because I'm not going to be able to convince them. Like, and this is the weird thing, or this is something that's really good to know. Somebody who I could be the type of person who's going to travel the world and help people different places. This person could be a homebody that wants me to just be at home all the time, taking care of kids and, you know, whatever else. And they might not understand my purpose. They might just say, oh, well, you don't need to be helping other people. What are you going to be going different places? Like, when are you going to have time for me? You're never going to, like, they could be thinking about it like that. One guy said that. He's like, so you got your business and you work. So when are you going to have time for me? Are you going to stay home? Like once we get together, are you, and I barely know this person. This is like the first or second date and I'm getting to know them. And I'm like, I know you on day 2 and you want me to stay home. And I don't think anything's wrong with people staying home and taking care of kids and stuff like that. Like different people have different purposes and your kid could change the world as well. And you could be raising the person who changed the world. You could be the type of parent who's an example for a lot of other mothers that don't know what to do, and you don't know what to do, but because you raised a really great child, you could be a great example for a lot of other women. Like I'm not getting on people who do that, and I think it's amazing, and I'm not saying that I would never do something like that. I'm just saying that while I'm moving in my purpose and I got these other things that I'm doing at this very moment, I'm probably not going to stay home. And so, like, stuff like that is like the thing. It's like, okay, I know God is telling me to move in these places and to do these things. And I'm not saying I couldn't stay home and do my purpose, but that's not what the person was saying. It was pretty much saying, like, I don't want to go into detail because I don't want to make this person seem like a bad person. They're a really nice person. And I think there's tons of women out there who would be like, yes, I get to stay home. I don't have to go to work. That's amazing. And I think that's great if, you want to stay home and that's your thing. Like everybody has their own thing, to each his own. I just, and as long as I'm in my purpose and I'm helping people, regardless of what it is that I'm doing, I want to make sure I'm always helping people. I don't know what that's going to look like in the future, but I know what I need to be doing. And I'm definitely, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but I know like the way it sounded was like I was gonna be like, don't laugh at me. It kind of sounded like I was gonna be like a concubine or something. Like, I don't know. It sounded real like it's gonna be like a time schedule for when I have to do things, and the laundry has to be done on every Wednesday at like 2 o'clock or something. I don't know. Like in my head, this is how I was thinking, and I was just like, okay, hmm, that's interesting. That is really interesting. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And then like a couple days later, I was just like, well, probably not a couple days. I think it was like the next day. I was like, I just don't think that. And I'm saying this not to be funny. I'm not making light of this situation or trying to make it seem like it's funny, because people have real emotions, and hopefully this person doesn't watch this video. They don't. I don't think they know me enough to be able to find me online. They probably could, but I'm just saying. So I don't think so though. I think I was super careful. And so you have to be real careful when you're a woman, for real, because you don't know what type of person you're going to meet. So I try to be real careful about personal things, because I want to make sure that my safety and the safety of my child is like the most important thing. So I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I'm at 678 3rd Street, like I want to make sure that I'm just really being intentional about the things that I say and the type of information that I divulge to certain people, because I gotta make sure I'm taking care of myself. And so I know that went all off course and everything, and I really didn't mean to tell that story. Like maybe I'll chop it out in the edit, because I feel like it's irrelevant, but it might help somebody, because they might say, okay, well, if I know my purpose and what I do and don't want, then maybe I won't be discouraged by distractions. Maybe I'll be able to look out for the signs and look out for the things that I actually want in my life. And I'm not saying make this 3-page long list. Oh my gosh, if I see another woman with that list, I'm gonna throw it in the trash. I'm not gonna throw their list in the trash, but mentally I'm gonna be picturing myself like just balling it up and throwing it in the trash can, like slam dunking it like on Space Jam back in the day with the cartoon characters when the trash can was all bent up when they slammed the thing in there. Like like that's what I imagine when I hear women say about things about that 3-page long list of the the dues for the type of guy that they want. I think it's really good to have a picture of you wanting to have someone in your life. I just want whoever God appointed to be a part of my life, and hopefully they have the patience for me. That's it. That's all I want. Equally yoked, you know, definitely believing in God. Mm. Whatever God appointed. God knows what I need in my life. It's not just about what I want. It's about what's going to glorify the kingdom. So, God, you take the reins on this, because I picked some crazy people. And crazy, I mean that loosely. I don't mean that in like that type of way. I really mean it in like a mm, oof, mm, yeah, God, you're gonna have to do the choosing on this one. For real. And so, in conclusion, do not let discouraging distractions keep you from your destiny. Those distractions are there to try to say that God is a liar, and God is a God that he cannot lie. The adversary is the real liar. He's the one who's trying to distract you with all of these person, place, or things that look real appetizing to make you think that you have to settle for less than what God appointed for you. He's trying to make you just be so distracted and so like in la la land that you forget the promise that God has for you. You forget about the fact that your relationship could be an example for a kingdom relationship. You forget about the fact that you have a purpose to help people, and you can't be with the distraction that's making you feel like crap, because you're not going to be able to speak life into anybody if you feel like nobody, like nothing. And so you have to be really intentional about the things that you're allowing to be a part of your life, the people that you're allowing to be a part of your life. And no matter how fine that man is, or how good looking that woman is, you gonna have to let it go. Like, don't let that distract you from your purpose. Don't let them people, don't let any of those things distract you from what God has for you, because the settling season is over.